Age doesn't count in love. A criminal always returns to the scene of the crime. There is a book on a table. Honesty is the best policy. The wells ran dry. A drop of water breaks a rock. I believe that a simple way of life is best for everyone. She enjoys playing tennis. The waiter brought me the bill. This coupon saved me a lot. She showed me how to drive a car. He promised me not to tell a lie again. The police made me feel depressed. My curiosity makes me travel around the world. I watched him play basketball from a distance. I watched a man on the metro try to get off the train. His defiant attitude drove his mother crazy. She found herself alone in the midst of isolation. The audience often finds the speaker interesting and humorous. Brainstorming will help you to come up with creative and unique ideas. One winter night, I found myself lost in the snow. He saw the male giraffes battling for mates by swinging their powerful necks. You will find yourself writing down ideas that you carry with you all day. Every day I watch the airplanes taking off into the sky. I heard my name called by someone in the street. Why don't you have your glasses repaired? You'd better follow the dentist's advice to have your wisdom teeth taken out. I have lived in Indonesia for 3 years. I traveled to Malaysia last summer. How long has she been living in Thailand? The patient has not been sleeping well in a strange hospital. History is written by the survivors. Hate is not conquered by hate. Hate is conquered by love. Faith and hope are being restored by those who have them in their mind. A number of resources are being wasted every day. They have been motivated to conserve these plants by those who taught them valuable. They have been motivated to conserve these plants by those who thought them valuable. Honey has been used since very ancient times to replace sugar. Cattle and sheep have been domesticated by humans since Neo-Stone Age. She is not satisfied with what you insist. Hyunjung's close friends, Jain and Minju, were engaged in a serious conversation. The world is divided into the two areas. The teacher was concerned about Minji because of her laziness. Reading stories and poetry can help us to understand and improve our own background knowledge. Can it be possible to make a society where everyone feels happy? The player must be excited to kick a goal in the game. We must create new opportunities for our new next generation. May God have mercy on us all. May I taste one of your delicious cookies? Excessive dependence on foreign imports may weaken the country's economic situation. We ought to include time for exercising and reading every day. This food should be kept in a cool and dry environment. We demand that our medicine, transportation, and food for our children be 100% safe. Copernicus suggested that the Earth moves around the sun. Existing data suggests that Alzheimer's is preventable. It is surprising that she should choose that romantic song. It is natural that seeking profits should be related to certain risks. I would read my mother what I had written. I would no longer believe them after the repeated mistakes in weather forecasts. Would it be convenient if I called you next Monday so as to arrange the meeting? I used to work on weekends while I was a high school student. The phrase used to be considered slang in the past, but it is now considered standard English today. The hardest work in the world is that what should have been done yesterday. I am sure I must have been as foolish as that guy. You should have seen a beautiful scene of the ocean filled with coral in diverse colors. I'd like to open a savings account in your bank. The city council may well start the fight over fast food for the children. We cannot but agree the value of the book which the author published. I'd rather go naked than wear fur. Purchase this game, or you might as well consider yourself a non-video game fan. I would rather die than act cowardly when my country needs my bravery. After watching the movie about war, I couldn't help feeling that the soldiers themselves are, in some way, victims. I refuse to give up my rights at any cost. The country decided to accept the proposal from the UN. Our goal is to make our dream come true. Our intention is to provide the best price and service to our customers. I have something to tell you about the matter. Until now, we simply do not have the technology to travel to the nearest star in a human lifetime. If you are to get pearls, you must dive in the ocean. Imagine that it's Sunday today and you are to meet your girlfriend at the amusement park. Shop owners are changing store designs to make the customers move more slowly. To prevent software from being copied illegally, the companies should lower the price of their goods to a reasonable price. I'm truly sorry to say this sorrow news to you. We are delighted to announce a new update to our program in this seminar. They disappeared soon in heavy rain, never to return to us. I arrived at the hilltop only to find a disappointing view of the seashore. She must be rich to buy a $50,000 bag without hesitation. He must be honest to confess that he doesn't know what he doesn't know. How foolish she is to buy such an expensive car. When he first started his job, work of any kind was almost impossible to find. In written language, the same word is always spelt in the same way, so different words are easy to distinguish in print compared with spoken language. Some questions are so sensitive that we can't answer easily. We are not always fortunate enough to enjoy a work environment free of others' interruption. The water is too shallow to allow a boat to move easily. Everything around us seems to have been in harmony with one another. The victims appear to have been shot as they were trying to escape from the place. If you don't know what to say, saying nothing is better. All we really need to know about how to live and what to do, we learned in kindergarten. To be honest, I can't think of such creative ideas. To tell you the truth, I hate shopping there because there are too many people around there. Losing my friend Sally was the thing I can't imagine in my life. Staying home and not interacting with people of other cultures is the surest way to make you a fool. She enjoyed playing the piano and writing novels. Falling in love is like being wrapped in a magical cloud. The students love to throw their papers into the basket in the school. Have you considered taking night classes to train for another kind of job? I believe that one of life's greatest dangers is just staying in the same place without traveling. The most economical and safest way of getting around Korea is using the Koreo. My dream was becoming a great swimmer like Ian Thorpe. The doctors did not hold much hope of her recovering from the fatal disease. Salmon's skills led to her becoming promoted to executive secretary at last. We're looking forward to seeing you again. There is no going back to your previous life. She is far from being cooperative with others. The villagers were busy rebuilding their new houses after the Civil War. On entering the house, he heard a dog barking loudly in the distance. The police had no trouble finding the suspect if the evidence is enough. What do you think of taking a part-time job to make money? All my friends are going climbing, and I really want to go with them. People are accustomed to using blankets to make themselves warm. I feel like having a Big Mac and some French fries. Whenever I have time, I enjoy spending a couple of hours reading the books. Even though I knew the demand was impossible to do, I could not help accepting it. It's no use asking for a refund because the company is notorious for not giving it. Time prevents everything from happening at once. It's of no use to carry an umbrella if it is raining heavily. Nancy and I had to get used to driving on the right in Southeastern Asia. Life is worth living if we are always worried about future as well as the present. What good mothers feel like doing for their babies is the best thing for their children. I regret to tell you that the lion is dead. I try very hard to overcome my prejudice, although it is difficult. I regret having paid little attention to the poor boy. I would forget to get up and go to school in the morning. I vividly remember going abroad for the first time in my life. I know that you changed the policy by yourself. I still believe that the old deserve respect for their experience and wisdom. The important thing is that our self-image is formed by our beliefs, not simply by our past experiences. The most incomprehensible thing about the world for us is that it is easily comprehensible for others. The only thing we must know is to know how people can be themselves. When we are trying to define a thing, we must know what class it belongs to and also what makes it possible to distinguish it from its class. I wonder if you've ever regretted becoming a teacher. Buy Nothing Day is asking us to think about what we buy and whether buying more actually increases our quality of life. The word symphony means sounding together, which is what creates the wonderful music we all love. Instead of just complaining and worrying, it is better to pay attention to what you can do with your ability in order to find a way out of the difficulty. What a person thinks in his own, without being stimulated by other people, is at best insignificant and monotonous. You can do whatever you want. Pray to whomever you pray that you can achieve what you want. The lonely one offers his hand too quickly to whomever he come across. Whatever falls on them makes them feel interested in it. A child who couldn't sleep with the light off at age 5 tends to enjoy a ghost story years later. There are people who like to do the same things that you like around you. A woman whose smile is open and whose expression is glad is a true beauty. I had 2 children whose school was located far from our home. The man whom I wanted to see wasn't in the office when I visited. It is natural to love a person whom you have often met. The villagers were busy restoring their old towns which had been destroyed during the war. All the countries which involved in the war agreed to end the war. Marriage is a book of which the first chapter is written in poetry and the remaining chapters in prose. Time is a resource whose value is determined differently by the people who use it. Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. People try to remember the moments which they think valuable. The best thing that ever happened to me is making a lot of friends. Never spend your life accumulating material things that will only turn to just dust and ashes. Almost everything that we are doing now is governed by some set of rules. The jobs that most companies are doing with information today would have been impossible to imagine 10 years ago. There will come a time when everything will be controlled by the computer. Think of a day when you are extremely satisfied with the result at the end. Go to a fairly quiet place where you are not likely to be disturbed. You are where you are today because you have chosen to be there. One reason why the novels are so popular in all cultures is that they are very easy to understand. I can't understand why a person will spend a week reading a novel when he can easily read the summary of it in 10 minutes on the internet. Now, one tends to be valued only by the way he dresses and possesses. The police couldn't find out how the thief broke into the building. Sometimes the cheat code are intentional bugs, which are inserted by programmers. An ambassador is an honest man who is sent to lie abroad for the profit of his country. The biggest mistake that a lot of teachers make is looking down on a student who shows poor performance in school. The problem that the student answer is different from what other students do. Changing the order in which the program is processed is impossible. We are giving you a piece of paper on which a lucky number is written for every item you buy. Mr. Smith wants to hire a person as his secretary who has special computer skills. The First World War was a global military conflict between 1914 and 1918 that took place mostly in Europe. I have a 5-year-old son whose dream is being a professional gamer. The terrible earthquake trapped many residents who did not lose hope. The word paradigm stems from the Greek word paradigma, which means pattern. There is always a quantity discount, which is offered to individuals who order large quantities of a product. The artists work for advertising agencies where they create interesting pictures and tasteful designs. A man walked, carrying a flute in his hand, to the center of the garden where a girl was sitting on a bench. Ever since you went away, my whole life has changed totally. Shortly after I hit the ball, I heard the crowd cheering. When Sejong was looking for her textbook, she found her room too messy. Do not cross the bridge until you check it is safe. If you hesitate because you feel inferior, other people are busy making mistakes and becoming superior. No sooner had I boarded the cruise to the Mediterranean than I missed my family. Scarcely had I noticed the dragonfly before it flew away. Drinking some water as soon as you wake up will help you stay awake. The moment we wait to hear the opinions of others, we still only hear our own voice. Kalimantan is a fine place to live if you like to live alone. Complaining is not bad for you as long as you are not complaining directly to the person you're complaining about. I don't care as long as you love me. I am trying to do what I cannot do in order that I can learn how to do it. Michael is asking Bob to lend him some money so that he can buy a new car. Our rivers have become so polluted that we cannot even swim in them. San Francisco has such a large city that it's better to give up to travel in a day. Although her life was difficult, she never gave up. However qualified a person may be, he will not be able to make the best use of his qualifications without concentration. I have to change my lifestyle now that I'm alone. We have to appreciate his precious advice since things will soon become too difficult to understand. Human beings cannot live on Mars right now, for the temperature is too low to survive and there is no water to use. People react differently to cholesterol and diet. For some people, it raises the blood vessels, while for others, it does not. Whereas one language now often makes a wall for job seekers, two can make a gate for them. Having bought my new dress, I went home. She threw her arms around his neck, and he took me in his arms, lifting me right off the ground. If I find the key of the house, I don't need to ask your help. Finding the key of the house, I don't need to ask your help. Feeling thirsty, I dipped some water from the well and drank it. Having never seen my parents for a long time, I love them from the bottom of my heart. Absorbed in their thoughts, Minju doesn't answer the phone. Believing that everyone is watching them, teenagers are extremely self-conscious. Expecting that a blanket will always make something warm, they think that it must warm ice too. What he likes is to sit in the living room with his legs crossed while reading a newspaper for about an hour in the morning. I'm used to walking on the street with my dog running beside me. If I were a teacher, I wouldn't give my students a daily quiz anymore. If I were a president, I'd give everybody enough money to enjoy his or her hobby. If Hyunjong had finished her work on time, she wouldn't have been fired. If you had lost the library book, you would have had to pay a 20,000 fine. Were it not for eyelashes, small particles would fall into our eyes. Without making several mistakes, we could never have learned the valuable things in our lives. But for airplanes, we couldn't travel to Europe in such a short time. Were it not for blind faith, human beings could be smarter than now. Had it not been for the sophisticated plastic surgery, she would never have been loved by such a handsome guy. I wish I had studied much harder. I wish I hadn't eaten so much when young. I wish there were no lights at all in my house. She acts as if she loved him. She speaks as though she had got an operation on her eyes. It is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. If you live in the jungle, it is easier to live with someone else than to live alone. I think that I am the weakest golfer mentally. The most important thing about goals is to have one, not to achieve one. Fortunately, there are no further casualties in the area. The older couple in the second row in this picture is my lovely parents. Being with Hyungjung is as beautiful as a colorful rainbow and as cool as showers on a hot day. This book can be as interesting and exciting as I expect. He is as good as dead. I try to read as fast as I can. The sooner, the better. The more difficult it is, the more interesting it is. The higher you climb, the fresher air you can breathe. Seoul is larger than all the other cities in Korea. My family is more important than anything else in my life. Make the best of your time at every moment. Most resumes are read for no more than a few seconds. Make the most of the chance when it falls to you. I want you to give me my book back tomorrow at the latest. The state of your life is thought to be nothing more than a reflection of your state of mind. Though he is no longer here, his spirit will always be alive in our hearts. Those who can speak at least 2 languages will have more career choices in the future. He is twice as strong as he used to be. She earns twice as much money as I do. This book is 3 times thicker than that book. I am surprised to know it is possible to break a glass by singing or shouting. It is not good to listen to flattery. It is difficult for me to wake up early in the morning. It is hard for an empty bag to stand upright. It is very kind of you to give me some useful advice. It is sweet of you to be ready to cheer me up when I feel depressed. It is true that health is above wealth. It is not certain whether there are aliens in the solar system. It is a mystery why someone gets to love others. I found it really enjoyable to learn new things for the first time. The boss finds it strange that his workers hate him. It was this view that made the trip fantastic. It is only when we are on the ground that we can finally relax. The killing of whales must be stopped, both for humanitarian and economic reasons. Neither the writer nor the reader is stated in the book. There are things in the world that cannot clearly be classified either living or non-living. Not only does he love her, but he also respects her. To accomplish your goals, we must dream as well as act. Freon gas, the main cause of global warming, can be useful in warming up Mars. Beethoven initially dedicated his Third Symphony, the Eroica, to Napoleon in the belief that he would sustain the ideals of the French Revolution. Ever since the coming of television, there has been a rumor that the novel is dying, if not already dead. The researchers confirm the popular wisdom that age is more a state of mind than a body. Between the 2 glasses was a small teaspoon. There was a small teaspoon between the 2 glasses. Near my house is a tiny dry cleaning shop run by 2 chatty old ladies. There is a tiny dry cleaning shop near my house run by 2 chatty old ladies. Out of the dark came a vague voice. Who's there? A vague voice came out of the dark. Who's there? Not only will this help to send information, but it will also save it. This will not only help to send information, but it will also to save it. The secret of staying young is to live honestly, eat slowly, and lie about your age. When one group borrows something such as ideas, values, foods, or styles of architecture from another group, change occurs through diffusion, The way to success, if you really desire it, is as plain as the way to the house. A job, however unpleasant or poorly paid, is thought to be a man's most precious possession.